With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories. Finding Your Passion Scholarship Initiative welcomes 2025 cohort of scholars.
CIBC First Caribbean Bank St. Kitts branch recognizes the selfless service of two women at the 2025 Unsung Hero Awards ceremony. St. Kitts Nevis Police report decline in white-collar crime across the Federation.
Guyana President commends joint services for work during elections. Calls for stronger disability rights in Grenada growing louder. Internationally, killing of Charlie Kirk, 22-year-old in custody for deadly shooting. Now, the details. The Honourable Samuel Duggins, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, Entrepreneurship and Cooperatives, Sports and Creative Economy and Parliamentary Representative for Constituency Number 4 welcomed the 2025 cohort of his Finding Your Passion Scholarship Initiative. The program provides youth with positive avenues for self-expression and community engagement. Minister Duggins said this year was a milestone moment as the program celebrated 21 years of the program's legacy and 4 years since its rebrand. The program's newest scholars are Tyrell Bradshaw, Janaya Pell, Daniqua Gilbert, and Josiah Drew. Duggins also celebrated the graduation of the second cohort of scholars, Imari Liburd, Trevia James, Danny Williams, and Najikwa Ford, true testaments to dedication, growth, and mentorship of the program. Minister Duggins, in a social media post, expressed the importance of the scholarship initiative. Quote, "This scholarship means so much to me. Hearing the reflections from our graduates and seeing the bright hope in the eyes of our new recipients reminds me why I started this journey in the first place. It renews my drive to keep creating opportunities, investing in our youth, and helping them reach their full potential. To all scholars, past and present, congratulations and thank you for inspiring me as much as I hope this scholarship inspires you. Together, we are inspiring dreams, empowering futures, and most importantly, helping our recipients find their passion." End quote. The scholarship recipients are often involved in community initiatives such as the Creative Community Mural Project.
The spirit of community and selfless service was on full display on Thursday afternoon, September 11, 2025, as the management and staff of the CIBC First Caribbean Bank, members of the community, and well-wishers gathered to honor two individuals for their extraordinary services to the community. The event, the CIBC First Caribbean Bank Unsung Hero Awards ceremony, held at the CIBC branch in Bastille, St. Kitts, was brief but significant, chaired by Miss Sharon Ratton. It recognized Miss Julie Charles and Miss Vinetta Zakers for their voluntary services to the community. Miss Vinetta Zakers was declared the 2025 Unsung Hero for St. Kitts and Nevis, thus earning a place in the CIBC First Caribbean Bank Regional Unsung Hero competition. She received a floral arrangement and a check valued at EC $13,500.
Miss Vinetta Zakers is not only the founder and driving force behind Zakers Affinity Horses, a non-profit, all volunteer organizations. I would like to emphasize all volunteer, dedicated to reaching, inspiring, and support and empowering underserved individuals within the community. She is a servant, a youth advocate, and an unsung pioneer for positive change. She created and focused on programs relating to juvenile delinquency or prostitution pipelines. All the beneficiaries are at-risk girls, single-parent families, incarcerated women, and neurodivergent women, children, and adults. Vinetta's endeavors provide food, clothing, household essentials. It addresses period poverty, emotional resuscitation, skill-based, and self-development training, creating a ripple reversing effect is nothing short of outstanding. Vinetta, now 40, her initiative in 2012 has already devoted 13 years of her life along with a small network of volunteers.
Miss Julie Charles, the runner-up, received a floral arrangement and a check valued at EC $6,750.
A domestic violence advocate who aids victims in finding their courage, as well as assisting them in accessing social services. And she's also a well-known motivational speaker, primarily to teens and younger women. Her motivational speeches are impactful and energizes young women with confidence to take on the world knowing that anything is possible. She established the Big Sister program since 2004 and became a volunteer facilitator for the Ministry of Gender Affairs and Social Development. A popular article garnered local and regional leadership on the subject, the silent epidemic of prostate in St. Kitts.
CIBC Country Manager Eberna White facilitated the presentations. The Unsung Hero Award recognizes those who have gone above and beyond to make a difference in their communities, often without seeking recognition. The CIBC First Caribbean Bank in 2025 is seeking to build on its decade-long Unsung Heroes program, which ran from 2003 to 2013. The Unsung Heroes Award is open to individuals 10 years and over who have been making a difference in their communities, but have not been highlighted or rewarded in any significant way. Under the new campaign, an individual can be nominated in one of two categories, either outstanding work in the community or an act of heroism, bravery, or an extraordinary act of kindness within the 12 months preceding the start of the year's campaign. CIBC Caribbean Unsung Heroes program runs across 10 territories where the bank operates. The evening's event featured musical entertainment by the Steel Pen Guru, Nigel Prentice, light refreshments, and photo ops. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force reported a notable decline in white-collar crimes in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. According to Leslie Joseph, a public relations officer for the police force, white-collar crimes, which include fraudulent conversion, obtaining credit by fraud, and similar financial crimes, fell between January to August 2025 when compared to the same period in 2024. Quote, on white-collar crimes, the numbers have declined from 42 cases in 2024 to 29 in 2025 for the same period. These include offenses such as fraudulent conversion, obtaining credit by fraud, and similar financial crimes, all of which are being actively monitored and investigated through our specialist units, unquote. The downward trend is attributed to the growing awareness among businesses and citizens to safeguard their financial information. Quote, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has also been actively raising public awareness about online scams to decrease these incidents and protect the citizenry, Joseph added. Some other white-collar crimes include identity theft, counterfeiting, money laundering, embezzlement, and forgery. The public relations officer noted that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force continues to monitor financial and other crimes in the country, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and community police collaboration to ensure safety. Quote, we are strengthening patrols and community partnerships to keep these numbers moving in the right direction. We continue to maintain a high level of vigilance as we work proactively to preserve the Federation's peace and safety, unquote.
In regional news, Guyana President commends joint services for work during elections, News Source Guyana reports.
President Irfan Ali hailed the joint services for their posture before, during, and after the just concluded general and regional elections. Addressing senior officers of the joint services at its post-election security review, the president said ranks must be honored for ensuring that there were no major disruptions or threats during the elections. He said the work done on election day was just not for election day, but a demonstration to the world that Guyana is mature and a stable democracy. The president said the nation should be grateful for the services rendered by the men and women in uniform to safeguard the country's democracy.
On election day, you stood watch. In the days after, when tensions could have easily have tipped into disorder, you held the line. Calm, silent but decisive in your action. And this, of course, allowed the people's will to be expressed without disruption. For this we thank you. For this we honor you. For this history will remember you.
Noting that the election period could be challenging, the president said Guyana has passed a test over the last few weeks because of the work of the joint services. The joint services prior to the elections had launched Operation Plexus, which was a coordinated security effort to ensure peace is maintained during the country's elections. The president told the officers that the peaceful and orderly conduct of last Monday's elections was not an accident or circumstance, but rather a direct result of planning, vigilance, and discipline.
When our elections are peaceful, when our democracy is secure, our case for sovereignty is strengthened. The stronger our peace, the firmer our borders, the deeper our unity, the higher our defense. Stability at home ensures that our joint services can focus their energy on the twin tasks of security and sovereignty.
President Ali said the joint services move to act as one united force during the elections ought to be commended. Meanwhile, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Defense Force, Brigadier Umar Khan, said ranks were able to work well in coordinating their security posture, and he's hoping for future collaborations with the joint services.
That in my 33 years of service, this election would have been one of the best conducted in terms of creating the security environment for national and regional elections to be conducted. And I applaud the service and professionalism of our officers and ranks across the joint services.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Defense Staff also noted the recent shooting incident in the Cayuni River on the eve of the elections, reportedly by Venezuelan gangs. He said the attack on the ranks and GCOM officials cannot be seen as an ordinary attack, but rather one that was a direct threat to Guyana's democracy.
Calls for stronger disability rights in Grenada growing louder. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
As the world embraces rapid advancement in technology and artificial intelligence, one marginalized group in Grenada continues to call for greater inclusion and accessibility. Disability right advocates Zinzi Noel and Jason Campbell, who are both living with disabilities, say society needs to change the way it views persons with disabilities. They highlighted the stigma, derogatory comments, and negative treatment they face in public as part of their daily reality.
And some people will look at us like, okay, what are you doing here? I remember one time I went to one of a supermarket, well, a gas station actually, there's a supermarket there. And when I went in there, the wheel has barely knocked a shelf that has toiletries, like tissues and stuff like that. And the way that security guard went on, and he was going on and on. And I asked him, I said, sorry, and I keep moving. But he wasn't satisfied. He followed me where I went and start again. I just simply leave. And then I went out. I just leave it like that. So the way people, the attitude towards us in wheelchair is, trust me, it's not nice.
So
a lot of the times we get stares, we get talked down to. Sometimes they don't even speak to us because they think like, oh, we're just here, we're invisible.
Noel and Campbell also pointed to the lack of accessibility across the island and the need for stronger implementation for existing disability policies.
The one time I went to see a doctor, and it steps. That's a killer for every single one of us.
So we're talking accessibility.
Accessibility there. Right there.
Yeah.
There are policies in place in terms of buildings. But what happens is that persons would draw up their building plan with the accessibility included, and then when they build,
It's not included.
They don't include it, and there is nobody following up. It makes me feel like I'm not important, or not important enough to, go back and check to see if everything is, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed.
Despite being productive individuals with valuable skills, both advocates say they are often denied equal employment opportunities, leaving them to rely on their own talents to make a living.
And getting a job, well, that's another question, because many times you go for a job, the first thing they don't see the person, they see the wheelchair. So it's extremely difficult. So therefore, that is the reason why I use my skills. The skills that I have, I did art, and I went on with art. I did books, I did, different number of stuff.
I went to school. Everybody would say, oh, you have to get an education, and when you get an education, you'll get a job, a good job. But that is not the case for persons with disabilities. There's an extra barrier there. Because for me, I have a bachelor's in psychology.
Yeah.
And even before my bachelor's, I had an associate's degree. And applying for jobs is like no luck.
The advocates are calling on communities to treat persons with disabilities as equals, deserving of the same respect, opportunities, and access as anyone else. Zinzi Noel and Jason Campbell were guests on GBN's Morning Buzz show. Rena P. Thomas, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
The governor of Utah announces that Tyler Robinson has been taken into police custody, ending an intense multi-agency manhunt, which included the release of footage of the man who's reportedly confessed to family members to the killing, as well as a reward of up to $100,000.
On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
The motive for the killing is still unknown, though a family member has told investigators that Robinson expressed his hate for Charlie Kirk during a family dinner. And text messages to Robinson's roommate reveal the shooting was carefully prepared over a period of weeks.
Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver it to Governor Cox and his team.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him.
U.S. President Donald Trump was first to announce the arrest in an early morning TV interview. Some media outlets held off reporting the president's words and waited for confirmation elsewhere. Shortly after the shooting, the president had blamed it on what he called the radical left, an attribution echoed by conservative circles, intensifying the already wide political division within the United States. And the governor of Utah had this warning.
We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse.
Tyler Robinson is being held at the police station where he was booked. In Utah law, it will be 3 days before the charging documents are formally filed. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera, Washington.
These Palestinian men are detained by the Israeli military. Dragged from shops, cafes and public places, they're forced to march around the city of Tulkarem in the north of the occupied West Bank. Yet another Israeli attempt to instill fear and humiliation and impose control over Palestinians. Mass detentions started at midday on Thursday and continued on Friday. Pharmacist Yazid Sarghali says soldiers ordered everyone out of his store.
They forced us to put our arms on one another like this. There were 7 of us, 4 employees and 3 customers. They made us walk for around 100 meters. Then they raided a home and arrested another 2 people and made them join us. As we walked, the army was raiding houses, one by one, detaining any men they found and making them join us.
Here, Palestinians are guilty until proven otherwise. Their crime? Being in town when an explosive device was detonated near an Israeli military vehicle at a military checkpoint. A first in months, the explosion likely injured 2 Israeli soldiers.
They stopped anyone and everyone they found in the city and made them sit with their hands on their heads like this, threatening us with weapons.
On Friday, Israeli forces lifted a curfew they had imposed for around 20 hours, but continued their raids, increasing Palestinians' fears and worries. They stormed dozens of homes, turning some into military posts and demolishing others.
I believe they are sending a message to the Israeli society that they're cracking down on Palestinians. A drone filmed that scene and published it on Israeli media.
Since the beginning of the year, 2 refugee camps in Tulkarem have been under Israeli siege. Israeli troops have been stationed in the city, forcibly displacing tens of thousands of people. The latest raids have come during a tense period in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli military has just withdrawn from Palestinian villages northwest of Jerusalem after a 4-day siege. It followed an attack by 2 Palestinians in an illegal Israeli settlement that killed 6 Israelis. Palestinians say Israel wants to remind them that if anyone dares to resist its occupation, everyone in the vicinity will pay the price. Nida Ibrahim, Al Jazeera.
From the Federal Reserve to central banks in Europe, Japan, and beyond. These are the stories to watch in business and finance in the coming week. The week's main event is shaping up to be a resumption of U.S. monetary easing after a 9-month pause. The Fed's Tuesday to Wednesday meeting follows bad news on the jobs front and tame inflation readings from CPI and PPI reports. That's paving the way for a rate cut by at least 25 basis points. Some Fed officials, including Chair Jerome Powell at the Jackson Hole Symposium last month, have signaled a cut is coming. A Friday rate hike looks like a long shot for the Bank of Japan. Japan won't know who its next prime minister is until October 4th at the earliest. And the frontrunners couldn't be much further apart in their views on fiscal and monetary policy. Another complication is potential Fed easing. A BOJ hike in that environment could roil Japan's already fragile bond market, accelerate yen strength, and knock stocks off their record peaks. Europe's not missing out on a central bank-packed week. The Bank of England is tipped to hold rates steady on Thursday, and analysts have pushed back forecasts for future rate cuts, citing sticky inflation. August inflation numbers are out Wednesday, while UK jobs data will be released on Tuesday. Norway's central bank also meets on Thursday. Several major emerging market central banks also have rate decisions. Having announced a new and lower policy objective of achieving 3% inflation, central bankers in South Africa will have to re-anchor inflation expectations and might keep rates on hold at 7%. Brazil is expected to keep rates at a nearly 20-year high of 15% on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, analysts are undecided over whether Indonesia's central bank will cut or keep rates at 5%.
The whine of Russian drones changes before they dive, and then we watch them come in swarms to Sloviansk, as they do across the front, shattering the night and claiming lives. But tens of thousands remain here. There is no rest for those who haven't already fled Donetsk's frontline towns. This is life on the very edge for rescuers too. A direct hit from a Russian drone on this police evacuation team. It stops them dead, but they're all safe. Back in action, their new van fitted with an anti-drone cage. We follow them on their next mission to get people out. They're called the White Angels, and they do these mercy runs many times a day.
We're heading into Belozerska. It's been getting hammered by the Russians. The biggest threat around here is drones. We're following in a vehicle which is about to do an evacuation. It has drone jamming equipment. A lot of the vehicles around here do.
Thousands lived here before the war, but Russia has made it a ruin.
So what you've got here is the very last, the remnants, the old, the sick, the infirm, those that couldn't already make it out, who are stuck here. So they're just trying to find them, trying to take them to safety.
3 drones landed the night before, this woman says. We'd have been done for if we'd left our lights on. It's mostly the older who are left behind in these frontline towns, and they're bearing the brunt of casualties too. Still, leaving is a struggle. The White Angels help 63-year-old Ohla out of her basement shelter. It's all too much. Civilian casualties are at a 3-year high, enough for those who can to try to get out of harm's way. But 73-year-old Volodymyr, with his bicycle, has his own reasons for staying.
What will be, will be. You know, at 73 years old, I'm not afraid anymore. I've already lived my life, so to speak. I do value my life, you know. But I stayed here because of my wife.
His wife is too sick to move, so he goes about his daily chores and watches the White Angels depart with barely a backward glance. His fate and his wife's are in God's hands now, he says. All that Olha wants is time to recover. She's living in a borrowed house. There's no running water. They filter it through buckets. And the electricity is out too. She ran out of bread 3 days ago and is surviving on handouts because all of her life savings have been spent on hospital bills. Ola's recovering from cancer surgery. She should be resting, not fleeing, and is too weak to unpack her belongings. But in any case, she may have to move again soon. Because outside, the war moves steadily closer with each passing day. She must eat before she takes her medication. Even that's a struggle. For Ola, there is no peace of mind, no hope. She cries herself to sleep at night. The fighting isn't far from here. That's a lot to deal with. How do you cope?
Every day they come closer. That's why the strikes here have become so frequent. The closer they come, the heavier the shelling is here, so we'll have to move farther away somewhere. But we don't know how or where. I don't know what comes next. It's already dangerous here. But beyond this, we have no plans because we have no money.
And there are those who have given up too much to leave this land. For Oleg, this is a regular pilgrimage for him and his wife Nadia. The cemetery overlooking Sloviansk holds the most precious thing in their world, their son's grave. Serhiy was 29 when he died fighting the Russians 2 years ago, but his mother feels the loss as if it was yesterday.
Our son. You promised me you would come back, but you didn't. You said, "Mom, everything will be fine." There are no more tears left to cry.
What would it mean if you lost this place, this special place for you?
That would mean losing not only my heart, but my soul, losing my life, losing my mind. How can you lose the place where you were born, where you grew up, where your child grew up, where his final resting place is? And then having to live your whole life with the feeling that you will never again visit this place. I cannot even imagine that right now. It is beyond imagination.
I'd spit in the face of any leader who would surrender it, even Zelensky himself. How could they?
The longer they stay here, the greater the risk to their own lives. But there are no easy goodbyes here in Donetsk. Quentin Somerville, BBC News, Donbass.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: Finding Your Passion Scholarship Initiative welcomes 2025 cohort of scholars.
CIBC First Caribbean Bank St. Kitts branch recognizes the selfless service of 2 women at the 2025 Unsung Hero Awards ceremony. St. Kitts Nevis police report decline in white-collar crime across the Federation.
Guyana President commends joint services for work during elections. Calls for stronger disability rights in Grenada growing louder. Internationally, killing of Charlie Kirk, 22-year-old in custody for deadly shooting. Thank you for listening.